Hello everyone, it's Karen Burniston. I am a die designer and I'm here to talk about our website, KarenBurniston.com, and what you will find there. And we are running a special this week where you can get free US shipping on orders over $25. You do not need a code for that. Okay, so let's talk about dies. We actually just released a few that are geared towards slimline cards. So we have our very popular crosshatch style that we already offer in rectangles, ovals, squares, and circles. Now we have them in the long rectangles, and those are sized to fit slimlines. So every other die is going to give you that crosshatch pattern. And then in between, interspersed, you get the ones that are solids with just a little score line in them. So they layer really nicely. And then in this set, it gets you down until, you have a really nice long fishtail banner on the inside. Okay, so long rectangles crosshatch is one of our newest dies. Then we have also our long nature edges. Now those can be used for any season. Obviously there's grass and there's stitched hills and then there's evergreen trees, at holidays and stuff. Of course you can use them, with snow and everything, but they could also just be for, dirt and mounds. And then you can cut those down. So when you want to use those edges on smaller cards, then you have those as well. Okay, so those are our long nature edges. You get the, like I said, the double stitched hill and then your grass and then the trees. Okay, and then one of my favorites, we're going to use this one on our project today. These are our slim frames. So they're sized so that you can fit 4 of them perfectly spaced across a slimline card. And those work perfectly on the front of the card, but obviously you could use them on the inside, or they don't even have to be on a slimline card. They can be for anything, but you get the rectangular frame and the oval frame, and then you get all of the, ovals and rectangles that you need to kind of layer them up, and then a little heart comes in that set as well. So you can see that one used here, and then here's one where we've got the little gnomes kind of peeking out of the frames. That's our Gnome and Santa die set. Fits any of our animals or charms or anything will fit perfectly in those frames. And you can see here that these are really focused on the card fronts, just a simple, you can see the crosshatch used again here. And there's those slim frames kind of layered up again on the inside. But of course, our specialty is pop-ups. So one of our newest pop-ups is the Mini Pops pop-up, and this one's just a generic little set of 4 platforms that can be used on pretty small cards. So I kind of designed this one knowing that a lot of people are liking to make slimline cards, but of course you can use it in any size cards. You can combine those together, or you can use them independently. And the actual video tutorial for this die set showing how to use this die set is this card here, which is a slimline design. Obviously when the video came out, it was right before Christmas, so I did it in a Christmas theme. But this is a slimline where I kind of subdivided it into 4 flaps, and then each one opens to reveal one of those little Mini Pops pop-ups. So in this case, the Stair-step pop-up, there's that fishtail banner out of the crosshatch long rectangles. I've just cut it down to fit. And then this one opens this way, and then one of those slim frames pops up on one of the angled platforms. Then this one opens this way, another slim frame on an angled platform, and then the L pops up the 4th of the Mini Pops platforms, which is the spiral. And then that's kind of decorated with some greenery. So some of our other die sets used on that to decorate. So this one has been a very popular card. People really like this idea of subdividing the slimline into 4 little sections. So we're going to make a card like this tonight, but it is going to be in a love theme. Okay, so what I did is I started with 9x4 on my piece of cardstock, and then I made the flaps out of the same cardstock that are going to subdivide this into 4 sections. So I just, got my calculator out and said, well, what's 9 inches divided by 4? And that was 2 1/4. So I knew that each one of these flaps, the main part, needed to be 2 1/4 by 4. And then depending on where I wanted it to attach and which way I wanted it to open, I added a little flap. Okay, so step 1, I'm going to attach all of my flaps to my main piece. I am a glue person. I like 𝐒𝐲𝐬𝐭 neutral pH adhesive in my fine tip bottle. We do sell both of those items on our website, but I love a dries clear glue. That's good for me because I'm a little sloppy with glue at times. And I'm just going to go through. Now, then what I do is I put it in our fine tip bottle, and we offer that in 2 gauges. So the 20 gauge is the skinnier tip, and the 18 is a little bit wider, which I tend to use the most. And then I just use a glass jar, And we kind of have a picture of this on our website too, with a damp paper towel inside that I keep those needle tips down in when I'm working, and that way they don't clog up and I don't have to recap them all the time or unclog them. Okay, so using my glue on my flaps, I'm going to use the first one to decide where the second one goes so that they'll butt up next to each other in the finished card. And then same thing with the next one. So I think what's super fun about Slimline cards is just all of the real estate that you have, you know, to decorate, and how you can really have fun, you know, like in this case, cutting it down. You know, you just have all sorts of options. It doesn't have to be just one opening card. It could be a gatefold card, or, you know, lots of things you can do with it. So I like to use magnets from 𝐂𝐭 Magnetics. They're my favorite. I don't have any affiliation. I just like them. And, you know, because they're super thin but super strong right here. Okay, so now I've got my magnets on my base card, and then I'm going to let the other ones stick to the inside of these magnets right here like this. Okay, so now those are stuck on the inside. What I can do then is just add a glue dot to the underside of each one. Okay, like this. And of course it's going to pull it off of there because it's not stuck with anything except just the magnetic pull right now. But then that will allow us to move that magnet to the base of the card in exactly the right position. And I'm not being at all careful about making sure my glue dot stays only on the magnet, because all of this is going to be covered up with paper. So this is just getting kind of the bones of the card. Oops. That came off on my fingernails. All right, so now what we do is we close each card, because each one of these magnets is sticky, and then it's going to move the magnet where it needs to go. Okay, so now we have our base card. I kind of feel like this is a little flimsy for all that I'm going to ask it to do, you know, to hold up pop-ups. So we're going to add a piece of cardstock to the back. Okay, that feels much more sturdy. Okay, I went stash diving and just found a pretty piece of Valentine-y kind of paper. It wouldn't have to be the same paper. I just made it easy on myself. I kind of was just following my guideline. And then I also kind of already pre-assembled the slim frames for the O, V, and E, and I was just going to show on the L how I did it. So these pieces here are actually in the slim frame set. So I used the frame itself out of the red hearts paper, and then I used the big rectangle out of cream, and then I used the stitched rectangle out of just a slightly different cream for a little bit of variation. And then what I'm going to do is just add my glue behind my frame, and I'll put the big rectangle on first, and then sink my stitched frame or stitched rectangle in the middle. And then I've used our alphabet set to do the letters. So we just have a good block alphabet set. Let me see, make sure that that goes about where the one before, about the center. Okay, and then I'm just going to glue these 4 on. But how cute would it be to put little photos in the frames? That would be adorable. Okay, front of my card is essentially done. I might add some little hearts and things later, but now we're going to move on to the inside. Okay, there are 4 pop-up platforms in the Mini Pop set, so 4 dies, and 3 of them are glue-in. So the 2 angled platforms and the spiral, those are glue-in pop-ups, which means that you cut them, fold them, and glue them over the fold, okay? But the Stair-step platform is actually a cut-in pop-up. So what that means is that you put the alignment nubs right over the fold of any size card, anywhere along the fold, and then you run it through your die cutting machine. I do recommend some double stick, you know, removable, not double stick, but removable tape to hold it in place so it doesn't slide. And then what that's going to do is cut the pop-up right into the card. And all you have to do is train it, okay? This little Mini Pops Stair-step platform is really easy to train. First thing you do is just fold in the center, which you already have a score line there, so it's gonna remember that. I like to back fold it because I just find it's easier for me to see score lines if I've back folded it, but it would work either way. So if you find you're using pattern paper and it's easier to see, you know, like in this case, the teal might be easier to see, then fold it front ways, doesn't matter. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the big section in the middle and fold it where it stops. There's score lines there. And we're gonna fold through both layers back and forth, and then back up to where we started. And actually next to that are these little smaller stair steps, and same thing, we're gonna just fold down where the cut ends, there's a score line across there. So we go through both layers. Okay, and then everything comes back to where you started. Then you open up, let's turn it around so that hearts are facing forward. And then from behind, you can actually just push against the fold, and it's going to remember that training that you did, and it'll pop those little stair steps to come in. You don't have to do that top one yet. We haven't even trained it. Sometimes it'll just go on its own. But then see how simple and generic that is? And then you have that optional upper platform as well. So then same idea from the back of the piece. If you fold this fold down, then you can grab it and give it a little training, put it back where it started, pop it out into the card. And then you've got that little multi-tier stair-step platform. And then as far as gluing that inside a backing card, because you'll want a backing card because it leaves a hole, obviously. So then just make sure that you put your adhesive everywhere except the hole, you know, everywhere where it's just flat. And you can do one side and then the other. That's probably what I'll do since I'm using glue. So I've coated the back wall. And then what I like to do, let's see, let me move my other things here, is I like to take my thumbnails and get the fold in the fold, and then I can slide it on the floor of the pop-up because it doesn't have any adhesive on it yet, so that I make sure that I'm centered. Okay, ooh, I just barely covered my magnet, so that's gonna need a little heart or something there. Okay, and then I just press the background to the card. Then I fold this up, add my adhesive everywhere else. Now it's going to become easier because it's already anchored inside the card. So I can either press it down like this, I can close the card, some combination of both. You know, it doesn't really much matter, but you can, oh, I just barely covered my magnet. Okay. And it's got enough hold too, which is nice because I wasn't sure adding all that paper if it would still hold, but it does. Okay, and then see how generic that is, so anything can go on that. Okay, then for the other ones, I'm going to put the paper in first. I think this one, and we're going to rotate these papers. And again, just the same paper, the authentic paper. And then I'm actually not sure who makes this one. It was an older one as well. I just found basically half a sheet of it in my scrap bin. That's the nice thing about cards like this is, you know, you don't need a ton of paper. It doesn't all have to match. You could definitely do 4 different styles in this kind of card. Okay, this one's just a glue in over the fold. So, okay, my paper is in, and now I'm going to add my other 3 platforms. So the 2 angle platforms actually work the exact same way. They just have different angles and different heights to them so that you get a little variation. But in both cases, there is a score line right up the middle that you work, and then while it's folded, you can actually get the one that's kind of halfway down the tails, the legs, at the same time. And then those are going to fold inward. So essentially all 3 of the folds in each piece all fold the same way. So I like to say they're mountain folds, you know, where you're looking at the top of a mountain like this, and all 3 of them are mountain folds. Same thing with this one. Okay, so then the way you install this inside the card is you use the outer 2 panels that get the adhesive. Okay, like this and this. And now that can go anywhere along the fold of a card, and you can experiment with whether it's popping, you know, up out of the card or down away from the card. If you were in a top fold card, you could experiment with different angles. But what you want is you want this tapered edge to line up with the fold of the card. And actually, let me make sure I do mine right. Which way did I do it? I did it like this. Yeah, I thought I did. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go towards the top since I'm trying to get a frame in here. And I'm going to let the fold of the card kind of, oh, well, maybe I'll do half and then I'll do the other half. Let's do it that way. That's how I normally do it anyway. I was Trying to cheat a little bit on time here. Okay, so basically I've glued the back half right here, and then if I close the card against that exposed adhesive, then it'll pick up the other. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, so you can see how simple that is. It's just a little angled platform. But in a side fold card, if you put something on the upper platform, then you get motion to it. And the little small one has a more severe angle, so you get a little bit more motion to it. Whereas this one works exactly the same way, but because it's a less extreme angle and also because it's built a little taller, then you get just a different motion to it. So they work the same, they're just slightly different. And then we're going to have that angled down into the card like this, so it'll pop that frame up. I just want to make sure that the fold, the edge of the fold, is right in the fold of the card. And it's basically right now I've glued down this back section, and then holding it in place, I just close the card against that other leg. Okay. Since I'm using glue and going kind of fast, I just take my time when I open it. So I don't know, I guess you can kind of tell the difference. You know, see, this one's taller than that one, but that one is more angled, so you get different motion to it. Okay, and then the final pop-up that we're going to put in is the spiral. So spiral is just such a simple pop-up. The whole concept of a spiral is the center is glued on one side of the card and the end is glued on the other side of the card. And then when you open it, you know, it'll expand. So it doesn't matter which side gets the center and which side gets the outside, but don't guess. In other words, whatever you do, you place it and then you close the card to attach the other side. You don't stretch it across and say, oh, I wonder if it would work if it was right here, you know, because you have no idea if that's going to be the exact spot to collapse down again. But it's not a very big spiral, so when you're putting one side down, I'll just do the center. You know, you're not going to be able to be too far away from the fold because it's not a huge spiral. It won't work if you go all the way out here because you don't have the room for it to expand that far. So I'm going to say, oh, here-ish. So you have a little bit away from the fold on here, and I think that's going to work. Okay, and then now what's going to happen is this is going to stretch across. So I put the adhesive on top for the outer section of the spiral. Okay, and then I just close the card against that end of the adhesive and it'll pick it up. Yep, oops, and then it'll pop off because it's glue and I don't like to wait. So, okay, let me just reach in there and give it a good pinch. Okay, so simple little spiral pop up, and then anything that you add into the, you know, the spiral on all these little things is going to pop up. Okay, so I finished up my love version, and I really did just follow the Noel version, but just swapped out for some different charms. So on this one, I'd used the holiday charms, but for the love version, I used our love charms. And then I also used our Happy Valentine's Day inside the card. Okay, so first section, I pretty much just kind of followed it, swapping out for love charms. Then on this one, same thing. I did a vertical slim frame with a little chocolate bar on it. Then for this one, a horizontal oval frame, this time with, again, love charms on it. And then I think my biggest deviation was in the final one, because on this one, I had a spiral with a whole bunch of greenery attached to it, an ornament. And on my love one, what I decided to do instead was to animate the Happy Valentine's Day by attaching it to the spiral. So when you open it, you know, there's some hearts on the spiral, but then the Happy Valentine's Day actually pops up. So that's kind of a fun thing. So there you go. A Valentine's version of this popular Slimline 4-panel card. Okay, so we've talked before about how cool Slimline cards are in that you have so much real estate, but then that can also be a lot to decorate. So here's one that I did where I actually extended one of our pop-ups so that it could be a 6-panel instead of 4 and fill up some of that space inside that Slimline. But another idea is actually just to make smaller version of cards, you know, on the front of your Slimline. So if you're doing a pop-up, then of course that'll fit in that smaller version. That one I actually did twice. This is our pop and swap die set, and you can kind of see those slim frames and things on that. Here's one where I just took part of it to make a partial pop-up, and then there's that mini pops behind there in the spiral on this one. To see these dies and more, just head on over to our website, KarenBurniston.com. Thanks for watching.